Shalom, shalom, family. Shalom. Shalom, Mashbakah. Hit that thumbs up for me, Baba Kushar. Throw a shalom in the chat or something. Shalom, Yashar. Shalom. What's going on, King? All right. I got quite a bit of scriptures I want to get into. So might as well get into them. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Salakia. Give me just a second. Let me get this real quick. Gotta get my charger. You're on your way to the plantation, huh? Whew. Man, I just got off. The work gotta be done, though. I'm trying to put this charger in my phone. Salakia. Man, I can't even charge this thing. All right. I think I got it. Salakia. There we go. So, man, I wanted to go over this lesson. What the hell? What's this? I don't know what that is. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So I wanted to go over this lesson because we still have a lot of Christians in the Christian church, and they don't have a full understanding of God's love and his hate. They don't understand that God hates. They don't understand that God loves some and hates the others. They don't understand that in the nation of Israel have a natural enemy. They don't understand these things. And I'm going to try not to get too passionate behind it, but it's long suffering nonetheless. This is long suffering because it's pretty frustrating dealing with this topic. We're fighting Christians. We're fighting, like I said before, we're fighting that little white man inside people's minds that have been told, we have been told lies, and we've been believing in the lies. And man, it's really frustrating, but we got to keep pushing. We got to keep doing the work. We got to keep repeating ourselves. We got to keep saying the same thing over and over again because the Most High God said the same thing over and over again for us. So this is love, man. This is love. But let me get, and at the end of the day, not everybody's going to get it anyway. 2/3 of us has to be destroyed. Many are called, few are chosen. So, which is all of Israel was called, but only a few out of the Israel was chosen to wake up. Few Israel was chosen to get the understanding of what the Bible's actually talking about. And the weird thing is, I should have grabbed this video. There's a video out there that shows it's about 8 preachers that are having a Zoom conference call, and they're telling the people that they have not been educating the church. And there's a lot of people in the church that are leaving the church and going to the Israelites, going to the Hebrew Israelites, or the black Hebrew Israelites, they say. And we know the reason why. Well, they even say the reason why is because they're not educating the people. They're not teaching the people about the Bible, right? And one of these days, Lord willing, I'll bring that video out. I don't know why I didn't think about it, but like I said, I just got off work myself, man. So, let's see here. He says, "Kind brother said, Taz MD said, if he can love, he can hate. Balance, beautiful, kind, beautifully put. If he can love, he can hate. Right? He's jealous." Man, the most people don't understand the Most High God, and it's so simple to brothers and sisters that's coming out that has come into the truth, right? But there's still people that just don't have the understanding, and a lot of it is our family members. So basically, a lot of this passion that frustration that I'm feeling is because of dealing with family members that just can't, that's not seeing it, and they still coming to me with it. Like I'm the problem, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and open it up with this precept, Proverbs 4 and 7, Baba Kushah. Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7, it says, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. So I pray that brothers and sisters that tune in, get understanding, get the understanding behind the message that I'm pushing, right? Get the understanding, man. So, yeah, man. So I appreciate y'all brothers tuning in. Hit the like button, Baba Kushar, like button. Show some love to the nation. We nation building, man. This is a young nation. Israel's a young nation. So y'all brothers and sisters that's in the truth, y'all are the nation builders, man. Y'all the first ones putting y'all bricks in. Of course, we putting bricks in behind the our ancestors, but rebuilding the nation. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I pray that everybody gets the understanding behind the message that I'm pushing out. Let's see. Your enemies. Your enemy. Who are your enemies? And we're just going to address, get the fundamentals, the basics of this. Your enemies as a nation. So the nation of Israel has enemies. As a nation, you have enemies. And we wasn't taught this. This was not taught to us growing up. Although we can see it, putting the pieces together. When we put the pieces together and we look at history, we see that we have natural enemies. The nation, we have natural enemies, man. Right? If I was Hispanic, I can tell as a Hispanic person, as a Latino man, I could tell that there's enemies that are completely against me as a Latino. If I was a Gadite, right? If I was a Native Indian, I would be able to tell I have natural enemies. That's something that you can be able to tell, right? But of course, the Most High God has to open your understanding, your mind, your eye to it. He would have to open your eye to it. But we got to start putting these things together, man. Like I said, I put this lesson together, Lord willing, for brothers and sisters to actually see that the nation has the nation of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, you have a natural born enemy, right? Deuteronomy 28 and 48, it says, this is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord send against thee, in hunger and thirst and nakedness and want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck. Slovakia. Yo, shalom, Mark. Shalom.
Yo, shalom.
Shalom, Cap. You looking like me over there, bro. You looking like me over there, bro.
I see that.
It's getting real weird. But finish this out. It says, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. So we know in history we have had the Hispanics, the Native Indians, and the so-called African Americans had this happen to us. And the Bible is telling us that this happened to us, and the people that did it to us, they were our enemies as a people, right? So we had an enemy as a people. As a people, we had enemies, right? So we want to get the understanding that as a nation of people, there's other nations that have no good interest for it. They don't have even if they did have a good interest to us, they still would be harmful and detrimental to us because they are the opposite of us, right? They can literally mean us no good, even though they try to. Okay, the foods that are good for them are not good for us. It doesn't benefit us like it benefits them. The medicine that's good for them, it doesn't benefit us, right? So we got to understand that these people are contrary to us. Okay, I'm gonna jump down to 28. So like 68, Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies. So we're sold unto our enemies when we came into servitude, when we came into captivity. It says for bondmen and for bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, right? So we were sold unto our enemies. We were taken into captivity to our enemies, okay, as a nation of people. Now we're going to get the understanding that I really want y'all to see is that you have enemies outside of your nation and you have enemies within your nation, okay? And the Bible makes a distinction between the two, okay? So we don't want to get it confused. So that's why we study to show ourselves approved. We understand that we have enemies within our nation. We have enemies that outside of our nations too, right? This is 1 Samuel. Captain, if you want to jump in, go ahead whenever you want to. All right. This is 1 Samuel. Slovakia. 1 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 46 through 47. It says, and Saul went up from following the Philistines, and the Philistines went to their own place. So Saul took the kingdom over Israel and fought against all his enemies on every side, against Moab and against the children of Ammon and against Edom and against the king of Zobai and against the Philistines, and whithersoever he turned himself, he vexed them. So these is naming nations that came against Saul, the king of Israel, right? So it's naming other nations. So there's other nations that are against the Israelites, okay, that are against the Israelites. This is Psalms 83 and verse 1. It says, keep not thy silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemy maketh a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up thy head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. So this is King David in the spirit, talking to God, saying that there's people that hate God. Okay, there's people that hate the Most High, and he's saying there's people that they don't just hate the Most High, but they hate the Most High God's people. Okay, and they've taken crafty counsel. They came together collectively and held counsel to have us be cut off from our power, right? Because the whole plan was for us to be cut off from our power. Okay, it says they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, man. So, man, we were called Israel. Now we don't even represent Israel properly. We don't have the last name of Israel, right? We have somebody else's last name. We have a white man's last name. We have our slave master's last name, and that's a curse. That was a curse placed upon us because of disobedience, right? So we have a natural born enemy, and they've taken crafty counsel to get us cut off. Okay. So, Lord willing, the understanding is to show how the nation of Israel, the nation, has a natural enemy. Okay. And it goes to list. Let me read further. It says, verse 4, they have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and Hagarenes, Gideon, Ammon, and Amalekite, and Salakia, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. So it's naming other nations, man. It's naming other nations that are against the nation of Israel. That is the enemy of the nation of Israel, right? They've always been against us, right? They've always been against us. Let's see, Salakia. But just to show you simply that the nation of Israel has natural enemies. Now, we can go into showing that the nation of Israel has natural enemies. I'm sorry, not natural, but you have enemies within your own nation. Okay? You have enemies within your own nation. This is, I want to read this in First Maccabees in the Good News Translation. First Maccabees chapter 11 and verse 21. First Maccabees chapter 11 verse 21. It says, but some treacherous Jews who hated their own nation went to King Salakia for butchering this name,
Demetrius. What is it?
Yeah. King Demetrius the second, and told him that Jonathan was laid siege to the front of Jerusalem. So it says, but some treacherous Jews who hated their own nation, and we still see this today. We still see treacherous Israelites that hate their own people, man. They are an enemy to their own people. They hate their people, man. We call them coons out there on the streets. We call them, all other types of names, man. But they hate their own people, and you can clearly see them. And what they do is they cause a division. They cause confusion amongst us to keep a lot of our people in the dumb state, all right, in the docile state, right?
They call gatekeepers also, like Reverend, what they call Reverend Al Sharpton. Right? He was a gatekeeper. You got Louis Farrakhan, he's a gatekeeper. You got Jay-Z, he's a gatekeeper. These are gatekeepers. These are millionaires. They make the millionaires, but they be at the round table with Esau, and they literally come up with ideas because Jake, they got the ideas on Jake. They know what's going on. So they get the information from them on how to help to destroy our people, man, at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Right. But I got one for you too.
Con, go ahead.
While you in Maccabees, can you get First Maccabees 7 and 7? Start at 7. First Maccabees 7 and 7.
Con, I got you.
Man, like the brother said, man, we got enemies within our own nation, but we have to forgive those enemies within our own nation. Right? That's the only difference. Go ahead.
First Maccabees chapter 7, verse 7. Now, therefore, send some men who thou trustest, and let him go to see what havoc he hath made among us, and in the king's land, and let him punish them with all them that aid them.
Right. So what this is I think it's Bacchides. Bacchides, they was coming up with the king sent Bacchides to go to the nation of Israel. This is where Jason was already removed out of the land because he was not converting the Jews to the Greeks fast enough. So they brought alchemists in to help to replace him so that he can do it at a faster rate, like, setting up these education systems, setting up these places of exercise. And we see our people doing that today, man. The same thing, trying to get our people like, like LeBron James and people like that. But believe it or not, these people are gatekeepers. They are to make sure that, they make these sports look interesting. They make you want, desire, and want to be a part of it at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Straight up, man. And it's not for your good, man. And when you actually go into sports, man, it's actually goes against you. Now, it's not a sin, but it has nothing to do with us. The Lord said that we're supposed to be a nation of kings and priests, and you won't see no damn king playing basketball, man. Right? But keep going on that.
Con. It says, then the king chose that. What you said it? You said it earlier.
Wicked alchemists.
No. Start with a B.
Oh, Demetrius?
No, I start with a B. Like a
back eyes. Yeah, back eyes. Yeah, back eyes.
Okay, back eyes. It says a friend of the king who ruled beyond the floor and was a great man in the kingdom and faithful to the king.
Right.
And him he sent with the wicked alchemists whom he made high priest and commanded that he should take vengeance of the children of Israel.
Right. So Alchemist was high priest for the nation of Israel. Like I said, he was replaced with Jason. He took Alchemist with him just to make everything look sweet. Right. At the end of the day. To make everything look sweet. But at the end of the day, Alchemist knew what the hell was going on. And Alchemist was about to allow his people to get slaughtered, man. So what does that goes into? He hated his people too. Just like these gatekeepers now today, they know it. Jay-Z, he know what's about to happen to his people, man. But he don't care. As long as he can get that wrist bracelet on or that ankle bracelet, when it's time, when the nukes shoot across the sky, he can get in his underground bunker. He don't give a damn about his people, man. Or when World War III or the martial law is declared, they're going to be certain that, like Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z, they're going to be taken into special bunkers, man. They got ankle bracelets that they putting on them, and you can go Google this. They got ankle bracelets that they're putting on them because they know that the time is getting closer. But they have no intentions on telling you, man. Just like Alchemist had no intentions on telling his people that Bacchides was about to do a mass slaughter on them, man. But I think it's you to a verse 11.
No, verse 10. Yeah, I'm at verse 10 right now.
All right, go ahead.
God says, so they departed and came with great power unto the land of Judah, where they sent messengers to Judah and his brethren with peaceable words deceitfully.
Peaceable words. This Alchemist knew all about this. We talking about the high priest, the one that was in control of the nation of Israel. Because the high priest has all the authority. This man had all the authority, and he knew exactly what was going on. And he knew about this letter and these peaceable words that was deceitful, right? For the Mons of the nation of Israel. But he had no intentions on helping the nation of Israel because he hated his people, man. All throughout Maccabees, you see that they hated their people, man. They hated their own people, man. And if you go to Maccabees chapter 1 and like from 48 all the way down to the last verse, it tell you how they was hanging the babies by shoestrings, and they was doing all kind of stuff to our people, man. And these are the kind of our people is helping them do it. But that's all right.
But he said, I didn't even know they was called gatekeepers. So he said, they call gatekeepers. So what they're doing is they're maintaining the state of this world. They don't want to see the nation of Israel come up. They don't want to see our people are in rulership. At the end of the day, they're comfortable because they have riches in this world. They believe that they've already made it. Okay. So, like I said, in First Maccabees, it says these are treacherous Jews who hate their own nation, man. And that's what it is. They hate their own people. Because, I mean, that's the mindset that we're fighting, man. And we got people that think that they're doing a good thing. They think that they love their own people, but they don't, because they're continuously keeping white supremacy going. They're keeping their people at a docile state and truly learning, right? Like we know Black Christians are like some of the worst Christians because they are ignorant. They don't know, right? They're docile. They don't know what the Bible's actually saying. Okay. You got a lot of course, you got a lot of white Christians that don't know either, but majority our people just don't know, man. Like I said, I really wish I had that video because they really go into, and it's 8 preachers, it's 8 Black preachers that go into showing that Black Christians just not being taught. And they say it's their fault and they don't know the Bible. They're not teaching the Bible. Man, they spill it all out. They spill it all out, right? And they said that you can't be no dummy.
It's a famine of the word.
That's exactly what they said. That's exactly what they said. They said it's a famine of the word. But they said you can't go to an Israelite. You can't go to an Israelite and not know you can't be dumb. You know what I'm saying? They do a pretty decent job of explaining how bad they do, how bad of preachers they are, man. You know what I'm saying? They don't teach the Bible. And y'all brothers and sisters that know Hebrew 101, man, y'all gonna destroy those people, man. Y'all I don't want to say destroy, Lord willing, y'all wake them up. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the ultimate goal, is to edify them and to show them how wrong they are, how much they've been lied to, right? But I'm gonna continue. It says, I'm gonna go to Micah chapter 2 and verse 8. The book of Micah chapter 2 and verse 8. It says, even of late my people is risen up as an enemy. It says, my people is risen up as an enemy. Ye pull off the robe with the garment from them that pass by secretly as a man averse from war. So they'll go and when your brother is at its tiredest, right? You just get off work, right? Or you just come back from war. Then they'll go and use you deceitfully, or they'll try to get over on you because you're at your weakest. That's an enemy to you, man. And that's enemies within our own people. So you got enemies within our own people, and you got enemies, you got whole nations of people that are enemies, right? And we're divided on top of that. Man, of course Israel's fallen, right? Of course we have fallen, man. We got too many enemies. So I'm going to continue to go. This is the book of Exodus chapter 23 and verse 4. The book of Exodus chapter 23 and verse 4 says, if thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass go astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. So this is your brother, man, and it's calling your brother an enemy. Now, this is a law. Now we know that the enemy, this is not an enemy of another nation. This is an enemy of your own people, because it repeats this in Deuteronomy chapter 22. And I'm going to read it, Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 1. It says, thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or sheep go astray. But it said your brother. It says, thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. So you're not supposed to be deceitful. When you see your brother's sheep or ox go astray, you're not supposed to hide it. Salakia. Shalom, King.
Shalom.
Yeah, so you're not supposed to go you're not supposed to be deceitful about that. So when you're not supposed to be a enemy to your own people, like it says in Exodus chapter 23. It says, and hide thyself from them, thou shalt. So you're not supposed to hide yourself from them. It says, thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother. So you're not supposed to hide it. You're supposed to bring it to your brother, right? Zion, let me get you to hold Exodus chapter 23. Exodus chapter 23, verse 20 through 24. Exodus chapter 23, 20 through 24. I'm going to finish this out. It says, verse 2, Deuteronomy 22:2. It says, and if thy brother be not nigh unto thee, or if thou know him not, then thou shalt bring it again thine own house, and it shall be with thee unto thy brother. Seek after it, and thou shalt restore it to him again. Man, if that's not love, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. If that's not love, and the law is teaching love, how you treat your brother. If your brother loses an ox, if he loses a sheep, and you find it, you're supposed to hold it. And then when you see that brother that lost it goes looking for it, hey, we will, and you're supposed to give it back to him, right? We're gonna hold the questions to the end, brother. I see your question though. Question: do I keep the law with all nations or just Israel? I see your question. We're gonna hold the question till the end. We're gonna answer that question, Lord willing, at the end. Let me see here. Where was I at? But you're supposed to. That's love, man. That's love. Verse 3. It says, "In like manner thou shalt thou be with his ass, and so shalt thou do with his raiment." So you're supposed to do it with his any of his property. Any of his property, you're supposed to give it back to him, man. Okay? And his property is deep, right? That's his wife. That's his today, that's wife is his property, a car is his property, his clothes, material, all that. That's your brother's property. You know what I'm saying? But it says, and with all lost things of thy brothers, which he hath lost, and thou hast found, thou shalt do likewise with thou shalt do likewise, thou mayest not hide thyself. So you're supposed, that's loving your brother as you would yourself, right there. Right? That's loving your brother as you would yourself. Verse 4, thou shalt not see thy brother's ass or his ox fall down by the way, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt surely help him to lift them up again. Right? There's love. When the Bible talks about the law, the law is love, is God's love. That's love right there, man. It's teaching us how to love one another. Right? We're not supposed to hide it. We're not supposed to keep it. We're not supposed to be deceitful to our brothers. We're not supposed to do that, man. Hey, there's a whole war in the book of Judges 19 over a Levite's property. And that was a concubine. That's his property. If I'm supposed to look at my brother's property as it's his, when I see his wife, I see him. And I'm supposed to treat it with respect. Right? Supposed to, man. That's love. Okay. Let's get to Exodus 23. Baba Kashan.
God, this is Exodus chapter 23, verse 20.
God.
This is Exodus chapter 23, verse 20. It says, "Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Right. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him."
Now it's talking about the angel. Now the Lord's name is in the angel, meaning the angel knows the Lord. He knows what the Lord expects. He knows what the Lord wants. He knows the law of the Lord. He knows the Lord, right? He knows what the Lord likes. He knows what pleases the Lord. The Lord's name is in the angel, right? Okay, so continue.
Verse 22. "But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies, right, and an adversary unto thine adversaries."
Right. So your enemies will be his enemies, right? And it's going to name it. Go ahead.
"For my angel shall go before thee, and bring thee in unto the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off.
Right. So this was talking about the other nations, man. Talking about the other nations. Okay. So he's going to fight against the other nations for you, right? If you are obedient, okay. So you have natural enemies, man. In the nation, it's like not natural enemies in the nation, but you have natural enemies outside of the nation, right? But also you have enemies also in the nation too, right? But you see the name that it named. It didn't name Israel. It named outside of Israel. It named heathens outside of Israel, right? So we got to get a good understanding of that we have enemies that mean us no good. Man, they literally can't mean us good. Esau cannot mean us any good. That's a fact, man. He is the opposite of us, right? He is different from us in every way. So what's good for him is not going to be good for you, right? Those chemicals that he takes, those he can survive on that. He can eat 3 times. No, what does it say? Yeah, 3 times more raw meat than we can without getting sick. Those are his facts. Okay, so we gotta always look for our people for understanding, especially when it comes to this book. When it comes to this book, they're not going to mean us no well, even though they try to, right? All right. Let's see. Oh, let me get that last verse, Baba Kushar.
Okay. Verse 24. Thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works, but thou shalt utterly overthrow them and quite break down their images.
Hey, and that's the important part that I wanted to pull out, because it says, thou shalt not bow down to their gods. You cannot bow down to their gods, which means agree to what they see is good for them, because we got to uphold and maintain our kingdom, our nation, what's good for us, right? We got to maintain we can't agree with what they agree with. This is what's good for us, man. They don't mean us no good, right? And it's not always their fault, but it's naturally, it's going to be their fault if you got ears to hear on that one. But let's get Leviticus 19:17 through 18, Bible Christian. So Prophet Jeremiah can't get it.
Hey,
What's up?
you see this dude? This dude said he's Jeremiah the prophet.
That's all right. But that's funny. So what's up, hey, man? You know, I don't know how'd you come to that conclusion, brother? I want to know how you do that. How'd you come to that conclusion?
Bro, how we know you Jeremiah the prophet is because Jeremiah don't know that he's Jeremiah.
Con.
This is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him.
Con, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor. Hey, and correction isn't fun. Okay, correction isn't a pleasant thing, but but if you were wise, you would learn from it. Okay, so you're not supposed to hate. This law is talking about your neighbor being your brother of your people. Continue on that one, Baba Kushar. I was going to explain.
It says, it says, verse 18, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right,
Lord.
God. So this is of thy people, of your own people. And you hear brothers out there on the street stressing this all the time, man. And it's good because this is of your own people, right? We finally got a good understanding of who our neighbor is according to the scriptures. The scriptures told us who our neighbor is. Our neighbor is the children of our own people, right? So We know this now. Okay. Let's get Zion. Let me get you to hold 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 5. 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 5. Right. So there's a few other things I want to go ahead and grab while you're getting that. 1 Samuel chapter 18 and verse 5. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 6. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 6, it says, seeing it is a righteous thing with God to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. Right? So we're supposed to recompense tribulation unto them that trouble us, man. Right? And this is talking about the other people. This is talking about the other nations. These are not our neighbors. Right? We just learned what our neighbors was. The children of our people, the children of thy people. Okay? So we can recompense tribulation unto them that trouble us. That is a righteous thing, saith the Lord. Seeing it is a righteous thing with God to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. Right? Another one, Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. The book of Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10, it says, never trust thine enemy. This is a wise word. Never trust thy enemy. For as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. We know the other nations don't mean us no good. You're not supposed to trust them. Never trust thy enemy. Okay? So we know iron's going to rust. So just like we know iron's going to rust, sure is his wickedness. His wickedness is bound to show. Right?
I got one for you.
Go ahead, Art.
Zion, go to the prayer of Azariah. It's only one chapter, but go start at verse 6 and read all the way through 9.
Okay. Prayer of Azariah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like 1 sec.
Hey, I'm about to block this dude.
Okay, and this is verse what?
6 through 9. You got it though, Captain.
It's prayer of Azariah, chapter 1, verse 6. It says, for we have sinned and committed iniquity, departing from thee. In all things have we transpassed, and not obeyed thy commandments, nor kept them, neither done as thou hast commanded us, that it might go well with us. Wherefore, all that thou hast brought upon us, and everything that thou hast done to us, thou hast done in true judgment. And thou didst deliver us into the hands of lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of God, and to the unjust king, and the most wicked in all the world.
God, it said it delivered us into lawless enemies, man. And these are people that don't hold no laws, right? And we see this day to day, man. You got people that are lawless, man. They don't think that they got to uphold the Most High God's laws. They can just do whatever they feel like, right? Number one thing you got to understand when it comes to laws, man, or rules, without laws, without rules of any kind, there's going to be chaos, right? Without order, there's chaos, okay? So, and that's what we're seeing today. We're seeing a whole lot of chaotic people. We're seeing a whole lot of people that are lawless, that don't have rule, that think that they don't have to keep God's laws. So you have a lot of chaos. You have people that are same sex, that are having sex with animals. They just lusting for whatever they feel like. Anything that makes them feel good, they're doing it. Right? It's chaotic. It's chaos out here, man.
Hey, that's why you got third world countries.
Say that again. It's lucky.
I said that's why you have third world countries, because they don't got no laws.
All right.
Precept.
All right, go ahead.
This is Salakia. This is Hebrews chapter 12, verse Salakia. Let me find it right quick. It's
12 and 16.
12 and 16. Oh, kind. This is Hebrews chapter 12, verse 16. It says, "Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright." And I got a second one. It's Ecclesiastes 7 and 13. It says,
Hold on, before you go on, right? So it said, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau. And I try to bring this out as much as possible. Profane means biblically unsacred. So when we go to the prayer of Azariah, where he says, lawless enemies, most forsakers of God, it's talking about Esau, man. And not just Esau, Moab, they eat unclean foods they ain't supposed to. They don't obey the law, statutes, commandments either. Right? But profane means biblically unsacred. So keep that in mind. But go ahead, King.
So biblically unsacred, man. So they don't hold nothing sacred, right? There's nothing they hold that's going to be sacred. Right. So we see that anything that we're going to try to uphold as sacred, they're going to make fun of. They're going to mock. They're going to scoff. They're going to scorn. They're not going to acknowledge it as something that's holy because they can't. Right. Biblically unsacred. They don't have it in them. They don't have it in them to hold things sacred. Okay. So that's another reason not to follow after them or the people that's been taught by them. The people that's been taught by them are just as bad, man. Right? Because they're leading their own people. And you see that in the Christian church. T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar. You see that they've been going to their seminary schools, you know what I'm saying, consistently learning other black preachers, and they're leading their people astray. They're just as bad, man. And they're just pushing their doctrine, their white supremacy throughout the world. They're pushing it. Right? There's nothing sacred. They don't tell you the difference between things that are clean and unclean. They don't. They don't ever do that. They never do that. Everything is okay. Everything is fine to eat. Let's see. Let me see. Hold on just a second. Man, I think I had a Salaki. I think I got a precept. Hold on. Just to show. Hold on. I think it's in Proverbs. Hey, never mind. It's Lakia. Never mind.
I got my other precept.
Fine, go ahead.
This is Ecclesiastes 7 and 13. It says, "Consider the work of God, who can make that straight which he hath made crooked."
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people want to be like, okay, well, they always want to add to the scriptures. They always want to include all nations when it talks about brotherly love. And so people, they don't understand that no matter, like you said, their good is not our good. You know what I'm saying? There's actually I saw this on TikTok. He was saying like healthy tips, but he was eating raw liver.
Right.
And so to them, it might give them nutrition. To them, it might be good. But if we eat that, it'll make us sick. It'll make us sin. It'll make us weaker. So you can't make straight what God made crooked.
Good point. Yep. And it's just not, man. You got to be careful on that's something that's always got to be in the forefront of your mind, that you can't learn. Like there's certain things you can learn. You can learn how to change brakes. You can learn how to work on things, change the house, AC work. There's things that you can learn from them. But when it comes to your salvation, when it comes to this Bible, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your family, when it comes to raising children, stay away from them. When it comes to judgment, right? They'll tell you that it's not good to spank kids when the Bible says the opposite. Right? They got their kids yelling at them, screaming at them, calling them by their first name, no respect. Right? That's how they are. That's what they do. We can't follow after them, man. But let me get to the point on this one. But let me get to because this is a little bit longer. Hey, y'all, Y'all cut that out on the chat, man. Y'all just pay attention to the lesson, Baba Kushar. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to let the brothers and sisters learn. Let's get that First Samuel chapter 18. Let's get First Samuel chapter 18 and where was I at? Let me see. Because I don't want you to read the whole thing.
We got time.
Oh, it is good. Let's go ahead and start with verse 5 then.
This is First Samuel chapter 18, verse 5. It says, "And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants."
Right. So this is King David and his servants. Now, he wasn't king yet, but David is from the tribe of Judah. Saul is from the tribe of Benjamin, right? Go ahead.
Verse 6. "And it came to pass as they came when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the woman came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul, with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music.
Right.
And the woman answered one another as they played, and said, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom?
Salakia. Hey, what is the issue in the chat? What's going on, man? Is this serious? Is it that serious? You ordained me over. What are you talking about? Yo, man, this bro. Hey, go get your own YouTube channel, brother. And you can teach on that. Don't teach on here, brother. Just listen, learn. You know what I'm saying? If you can't do that, then you're gonna be blocked. You might be the same brother from earlier. Don't do that, man. That's not respectful.
I'll start at verse 16. This is First Psalm chapter 18, verse 6. It says, And it came to pass as they came when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the woman came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music.
Go ahead.
And the woman answered one another as they played, and said, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul.
So Salaki. So you see here, you see straight hatred, man. Right? You see envy from King Saul, and he's envious of King David, man. Right?
Verse 9, it says, And Saul eyed David, from that day and forward. And verse 10, And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house, and David played with his hand as at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand. Verse 11, And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice.
Khan, where you at? What verse you at?
Verse 11.
Okay, Khan. It says, verse 10, it says, And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul. Man, he had an evil spirit, and that's an evil spirit that's on the brother, man. And that evil spirit, that's something that you got to be aware from. You got to be aware of, Salakia, of evil spirits jumping up on us, because they will try to jump up on you. Evil spirits, being envious, being having that spirit of hate. Those are spirits you got to be aware of, right? And that's why it's important to be. I keep saying it's important to be in the camp, because you get to actually be around brothers and get to operate, take correction, take rebuke, and get to give rebuke and correction, right? But you're not going to get that being on your own, right? As soon as somebody rebukes you or corrects you, then you're going to get offended and not know how to respond or know how to act, right? So you learn all that by being amongst brothers, by being in camps. There's many times where I had to be corrected. You know what I'm saying? I'm 42 years old being corrected by men that are way younger than me because I needed to learn. There's things I didn't know. I don't know, right? I didn't know how to act accordingly, according to the Bible, right? So those things you just got to be taught all over again, man. But it takes a humble spirit to learn how to do that, right? Continue on though.
God, it says, I'll read verse 11. It says, 1 Samuel 18:11. It says, and Saul cast a javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. Mm-hmm. And David avoided out of his presence twice. Verse 12. And Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him and was departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from him and made him his captain over 1,000. Mm-hmm. And he went out and came in before the people.
Now let's see how David dealt with this. Go ahead.
And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him.
He did what?
And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him.
That's how we always got to move. We always got to behave ourselves wisely, man. We got to behave ourselves wisely according to the law, according to the scriptures, right? Verse 15.
Wherefore, when Saul saw that he had behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him.
Right. So that's why Saul was afraid, because he was behaving wisely, right? It's just like when you're getting told to stand down and be in order, right? Or control yourself, and you choose not to, brother, you're not behaving wisely. That's just like this brother Jeremiah Pro. You can bring scriptures, that's cool, but bro, I told you a long time ago, you know what I'm saying? Behave yourself, brother. If you can't behave yourself, you're gonna keep getting kicked out. I'll give you another chance. Just behave yourself, brother. There's people trying to learn. If you can't, you're gonna get blocked, right? Simple as that. It ain't nothing but love on here, man. We don't want to be selfish. I don't know. Okay, this is ridiculous. This brother, go get your own YouTube, brother. All right. Let's get the book of Psalms, chapter 139. Psalms chapter 139, 21 through 22. Psalms 139, 21 through 22. Bible share. But he said he behaved wisely, man. You know, we got to be long suffering. You can't be passionate, and you can be, you know I came from a place to where just yelling and angry and all that, man. That's not manly right there, man. You know, we actually got to deal with each other as brothers and how we want to be treated. You know, when it comes to your own people, right? You got to be long suffering. You got to be patient, right? Continue always, but the brothers also got to show patience too. He's also got to be able to be corrected. But if he's not able to be corrected, hey, you got to keep pushing. You got that Psalms though?
Okay. Psalms 139, verse 21. It's Psalms chapter 139, verse 21. Do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee? I am not I grieved, and am not I grieved with those that rise up against thee. Mm-hmm. I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them my enemies.
He count them his enemies, man. He said, I hate them with perfect hatred. And this is King David talking about the people that are outside of the nation of Israel, right? He said, do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee, right? Because there's people, like I explained earlier, that hate the Most High God, right? They hate the Most High God's people. You got people within the nation that hate their own people, man. Captain was talking about, what did he call them? Gatekeepers. That they choose to hate their own people because they love to maintain the state of this world. They love the riches that this world has provided for them. They're not ready for a change. They're afraid of change because they're afraid to go back down to a poverty level, right? Not knowing that there's greater riches, there's greater things to come in the nation or in the world to come than this world could ever provide, right? But King David said, I hate them with a perfect hatred. Let's get the book of Romans chapter 12 and verse 20. Romans chapter 12 and verse 20.
This is Romans chapter 12, verse 20. It says, therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head.
Come on. Verse 21.
Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good.
Right. So this is Salakia. This is what King David did. He said, it says, and David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, man. And this is something that we got to learn from. Behaving yourself wisely to the people that are within your own nation. Now, the people outside of your nation, now you want to, now the scripture tells you to agree with your adversary quickly. You want to behave wisely. You don't want to get yourself into more trouble, right? You want to try to maintain your passion. Okay, so we shouldn't always be out of control, because when we are out of control, they'll control us. You know what I'm saying? You always got to be wise about the situation that you're in. Let's see here. Let's get 1 Samuel chapter 18 and jump down to 25, Barbecue Shah. 25.
So I'll give you what?
1 Samuel 18 and 25.
This is 1 Samuel's chapter 18, verse 25. This is 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 25. It says, and Saul said, thus say to David, the king desireth not any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines.
Right. So this is pure hate, man. This is hate that King Saul had towards David. He didn't really, King Saul didn't respect David at all. King David was supposed to get, David was supposed to get King Saul's daughter to marry. So David was happy about the situation, but King Saul wanted David to fall. So he gave him a task or a job or an assignment that he knew that would get him killed. Right? Verse 26.
Verse 26. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired.
Come on.
Wherefore David arose and went, he and his men, and slew the Philistines 200 men. Mm-hmm. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, and that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife.
Right, come on.
And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him.
Come on.
And Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually.
He became David's enemy continually. Right? Man, that's what hate does, man. That's what envy does. Envy breeds hate. And that's what King Saul was. He was very envious of David. Right? The women singing, Saul slayed 1,000, but David slayed 10,000, roughly paraphrasing. I can't remember. That's at 1 Samuel 18 at the, 7. And the women answered one another as they played and said, Saul has slain his 1,000 and David his 10,000, right? So it was envy breeds hate, man. He was getting jealous, right, of David, and he didn't have no love to him, right? And he was getting angrier and angrier, man. He was like the hate was more and more. And it says, and Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. And that's tough. That's tough, man. And that's within our own nation. So we're showing you that you can have enemies even in your own nation. Okay, so when Christ said, let's go to what Christ talked about. Let's go to the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 43. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 43. So when Christ said this, we, Lord willing, we get a good understanding of what he's talking about.
This is Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. Mm-hmm. It says, ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy.
Come on.
But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. That ye may.
So this is talking about the enemies within your own nation. So you got enemies within your own nation that you're supposed to treat differently than you can or you should the people outside of your nation. Right? So you can treat the people outside of your nation differently, lawfully. Lawfully, it's not a sin. King David said, I hate them with a perfect hatred. He said, I count them as my enemy. Right? Those that were outside of his nation, those are enemy. Those, they're not upholding the law. They hate God and his people. Right? We turn the other cheek to our own people. Okay? Those that keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Father. Okay? They can become, that's how you can change. You can turn a brother's Lord willing, you can change that brother's mindset, right? Change that brother's spirit. Okay? Yeah, brother, I'm gonna give you a call after class because you definitely disrupting the class, man. You're disrupting people actually trying to learn, man. I'm gonna give you a call, okay? But I really want you to just try to calm down, brother. We're gonna get it. You know, there's an order to everything. Like I said, if without order, there's chaos, right? Gotta have order. But let's continue. Let's get, just to give brothers and sisters a little bit more understanding. Let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 54. You start at verse 54.
This is 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 54. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 54.
John.
2nd Ezra 6 and 54. It says, and after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen.
God, so Salakia, so who did the Most High God choose? Who has he chosen? Right? So that's something that always needs to be understood. I know we got, or I don't know if we do, we might have new brothers and sisters that haven't learned who the Most High God chose. Well, let's get it. I'm going to get it. You hold your place. This is Isaiah chapter 44 and verse 1. It says, yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thou saith the Lord that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou, Jerusalem, whom I have chosen. So the Most High God has chosen Israel. The Most High God chose Jacob. The Most High God chose Jerusalem. That's who he chose, man. Many have I called, few have I chosen. He called all of Israel, but he chose some of us to wake up. Okay? Continue, though, on that 2nd Ezra.
This is 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 54. Or 55, Salakia.
Yeah.
All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sake.
Mm-hmm.
6.
Salakia. So the world was made for the sakes of Israel, and the people in the world was made for Israel. Right? All of the other nations were supposed to serve Israel, just like we're serving the white man in his country. They were designed to serve us. Right? Come on now.
Verse 56. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
Come on.
And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us.
Now, what we want you to hear is that there is racism and prejudice, that the Most High God loves a group of people and he hates another group of people, because it's expressed. It's expressed that he loves some people and he hates the others. Some he favored more than others. There's a balance, like one of the brothers said earlier, right? There's a balance. The Most High God has a balance, right? A false balance is an abomination. Proverbs 11:1. Okay? We want y'all to see that, because he has a race of people on earth that he chose from the very beginning of the book to the very end of the book. Right?
Precept.
Go ahead.
This is Romans 9:13.
Mm-hmm.
It says, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Verse 14. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? God forbid. I'll read verse 15 also. It says, For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So basically, it's going into like Captain just said, the Most High favors other people more than other, and if anybody has something to say against it, they gotta go. They're going against God. You know what I'm saying? So it's really nothing you can do about it. And to prove that point even more, we'll skip down to verse 20. It says, I'll say verse 19. It says, then will say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? Verse 20. Nay, but O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? So it's just going into it's ordained that way. Esau and his nation is ordained to be the wicked of the earth. So it's just you gotta deal with it. But verse 21, it says, had not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? And like the captain just said, it's a perfect balance. There's good people and there's bad people. So if anybody wants to have a grudge against us for saying this, they're going against the Bible and not us.
God, beautifully put. This is 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9 in the English Standard Version. It says, but you are a chosen race. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people of his own possession, right? So the point is that the Most High God is dealing with a race of people from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. Like it says in 1 Peter's, right? He brought out Romans. What was that? Romans 9, right? He brought out Romans 9. And this is 1 Peter's. It says, but you are a chosen race. So he's dealing with a race of people, right? There is a balance to the Most High God, a hierarchy in the nation and on this planet. The people that he dealt with, that he only knows, that didn't change. That has not changed. The Most High God doesn't change. He still deals with the nation of Israel, right? But let's get that. Did you finish that out? Let's finish that out.
This is 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 57. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us.
Mm-hmm.
But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? For how long shall this endure?
Con, let me get Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 24, 25. Ezekiel 7, 24, 25. I'm going to read this verse 57 again. It says, and now, O Lord, behold, the heathens which have ever been reputed as nothing have become lords over us and to devour us. So these heathens, the Most High God has always reputed them as nothing, right? He's always seen them and said that they were nothing, right? The base of all men. Edom. Edom is the base of all men, right? But just to show that there's an order to everything. The Most High God has an order on everything, man. There's no chaos. Like I said, without order, there's chaos, right? So in order for there to be no chaos, the Most High God has order in everything, man. It's simple. But let me get that Ezekiel 7:24, Baba Kasha.
This is Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 24. It says, wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses. I will also make the pomp of the strong to cease, and their holy places shall be defiled.
Con, but it says, therefore I will bring the worst of the heathens. And that's what's ruling over us right now. The worst of the heathens. Okay, and they're ruling over us, man. But it's done that way for a reason, right? So if you didn't know, now you know. But I want to bring out this one last scripture again that we already brought out. Let me get that Matthew chapter 5, I believe. I brought up Matthew 5 and 43. Just so brothers can understand and sisters can understand about hating your enemy, or who is your enemy. Lord willing, you got a good understanding on who your enemy is. You got enemies, natural enemies outside of Israel. You also got enemies within Israel, right? And we see those enemies on a day-to-day basis that are in Israel. So we don't want you to go out there and be confused and not knowing who your friend is and who your neighbor is and who your enemies are. Because you got people that are not keeping God's law, right? That choose to hate God. They choose to maintain the state of this world and not the nations of Israel, right? What did I bring out earlier? First Maccabees chapter 11. I'm going to read that top part again. First Maccabees chapter 11, verse 21. It says, but some treacherous Jews who hate their own nation, right? There's some treacherous Jews that hate their own nation, man. And that still goes on to this day. Okay. But go ahead with that last scripture though. Matthew 5.
God. It's Matthew 5, verse what?
43.
This is Matthew 5, verse 43. It says, Matthew 5, verse 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
Right. So we know who our enemies are. We know who our neighbor is. The neighbor is those of your own people. Okay. Right. So Lord willing, y'all got to understand it on that. Now, brother had a question. Let's see. It says, question, do I keep the law with all nations or just Israel? First thing I always say, man, the first thing I always say, and Lord willing, you get some wisdom behind this, is that you definitely want to focus on you and your people first. Because a lot of us in Israel have a hard time loving ourselves, right? We got to learn to love ourselves first, and then we can learn to love other people. Okay. So, but simply put, if it's a, now it's going to be very far few in between when you get somebody that's practicing Israel, that's not an Israelite, but I have seen them. I've seen non-Israelites that practice Israelite customs, and those people, you do want to you want to act on keeping the laws with those people, okay? But as far as the other nations, no. You know what I'm saying, that are not keeping the God's laws, no. Now, if you want to try to teach them, if you want to try to educate them on the laws of God, and they start to keep it, then you can operate in that manner. But you definitely want to represent the nation of Israel the best you can, right? That don't mean treat them any kind of way. Okay, so if you get somebody that's not an Israelite, if you get somebody that's not an Israelite, and they like Ammon, a Japanese person, and you don't want to treat them like shit, like really, you know what I'm saying? Excuse my French. You don't want to treat them like that. You want to, what does the scripture say? Let me get it. I got it. I got you. Hold on just a second. I got you. This is Romans. Slovakia. Hold on just a second. Romans chapter 12 and verse 18. It says, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Right? So that's what you want to do, is live peaceably with all men. Okay? You don't want to go out your way to treat them like, you know what I'm saying, like crap. So live peaceably with them. And you got a reputation to uphold. If you know that you Israel, you got to always walk as an Israelite. But as far as treating those people that are not Israelites like an Israelite, nah, that's not. I would never do that. I would never. You should never. No, that's not wise. That's not wise. So, Lord willing, brother, you got some understanding behind that. Zion, did you have something you want to bring out?
Come. 4 and 6. It says, this is going into if it be possible, live peacefully, because when the nations see us, they're gonna be like, man, I'll just read the scripture. It's Deuteronomy 4 and 6. It says, keep therefore and do them, right? The law, statute, commandments. For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So, you really are being watched not only by our own people, but also heathens. There's going to be a point where they're going to look at us and they're going to be like, man, this is a wise and understanding people. And so that's why we try to actively keep the commandments and, believe in Christ. We got to be perfect. And it looked like the brother lagged out. So I'm going to end it right here. We give all praises, all honor, all glory to the Most High God Yahweh through Yahweh Shai. The water for everybody that listened to this lesson, and shalom.
Yo, he left, huh? All right. I have a little complications. I don't know what he brought out. Let me see here. Leviticus 11 and 9. Are we allowed to eat rice? Doesn't it grow in the water? Are we allowed to eat rice? I don't know too much about rice, but I believe it's lawful. I ain't never heard nothing about it in my 5 or 6 years in the truth, hearing that rice is unlawful. Let me get that. Leviticus 11 and 9. It says, these shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever has fins and scales in the water, in the sea, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. So yeah, that's just talking about like living fish and creatures that are in the water. It's not talking about necessarily rice. Um, from my understanding, rice has a seed, so it's lawful. It's lawful. Come on, man. Lord willing, I answer the brother's questions. Um, let's see. Let's see here. Salaki, give me just 1 second. Oh, he said he on right now. Salaki. Hold on just a second.
Please update your credit card or billing information in order to avoid service interruption. You are the first participant of this meeting. Please hold while we wait for others to join.
Hey, Jeremiah Dreams, if you still listening, brother, go ahead and call in. Go ahead and call in now. Jeremiah Dreams. Con. All right. So with that, let me give all praises, all honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. The water for you brothers and sisters out there pushing this truth in all sincerity, and double honors to the elders that taught us this truth. And with that, I'm saying Shalom, Barak Mashpakah.